Hello everyone. Oh, that red light is actually just a little bit too bright, but we'll fix it while we talk. Hello everyone. Welcome to our very, very special Fantasy Grounds Fridays. No guest this week because I'm going to talk to you and teach you all how to set up a stream, how to set up an actual play live stream similar to the one that I run every Friday called Fabled Dice. Not Friday, every Saturday called Fabled Dice. This show is Friday. Today is Friday. Let me just turn the brightness down on that red light. I did some last minute adjustments and I made a couple of things just a little bit brighter than I intended. All right. But as you can see, I went out and got my green screen set up just for this so that you can see almost the entire computer screen rather than the normal UI setup, rather than the normal overlay. This will hopefully make it nice and easy for everyone to see. All right, so we're going to start. First thing I'm going to do, though, is adjust the music down just a little bit more so it's a little more obvious to see. What we're going to be talking about is a little bit of everything. So we're going to start with getting an OBS setup ready. We'll move over into Photoshop. I'll show you how to create a really, really simple overlay using kind of similar to this that I set up, which is a very simple webcam. And I'll show you how to get a pretty decent overlay setup real quickly. And it will be very, very performance friendly. So one of the things, if you use OBS a lot, you'll know that this little CPU meter down here in the corner, if that gets too high, your computer starts screaming at you. And especially if you're running a Discord call, OBS for streaming, and Fantasy Grounds, you'll know that your computer will start to hate you very quickly. So I'm going to show you how to create something that will take maximum of around 4 or 5% CPU usage and still look nice. Because it's very, very easy to make something that looks really, really nice, but then your CPU usage is like 30% and your computer does not want to continue. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing to consider is obviously you're going to need to install OBS. You can find it simply by just searching OBS. I am using Stream Elements version because that is how we have all these little fun extra things like the emotes that bounce off of the screen and the alert overlays and all of that. You don't have to do that for this. That's just the version that I use. And you can find that by going to streamelements.com and then going through their stuff to get that. The only other thing that you will need for the way that I set this up is a free plugin for OBS called Audio Monitor. What does OBS stand for? Open Broadcast Software. So this whole stream is going to be about how to set up your own tabletop stream using Fantasy Grounds. As you can see, I just barely opened that. But yeah, we use this. What is it called? This free plugin for Open Broadcast Software. It just makes setting up your audio much easier, and I'll show you how to do that when we get into this. And as normal, we will be taking questions. As long as it's streaming related, I can for sure answer. If it's any other more general Fantasy Grounds questions, we'll see if I can answer. But you can post them in the chat, or if you're watching on Twitch, down at the bottom of the Twitch window, there's the little Fantasy Grounds dice icon. You can click on that and click the Ask Question button. So let's get started, and we're going to get started by assuming you have OBS installed on your computer and you've downloaded the audio monitor. I won't be running through that. You can find multiple tutorials, and they audio monitor themselves even gives a pretty good tutorial on how to download and set it up. So we're gonna start from there. And my first tip is obviously we're going to need to create some scenes. I'm kind of blocking it. When we actually get into scene creation, I'll move my window to the side to make it a little easier to see. But the first thing is you want to go into your settings, and we're going to want to change some default settings. So number one that I recommend, if you go into audio, turn all of these to disabled, every single one of them. You don't want any of those. And the reason for that is that these audio sources that you see, those will be in every single scene you create. So if you create a starting soon screen and you have a microphone there, that microphone will be able to be heard on every scene, even your starting soon screen. You don't want that. So I'm going to show you how to manually set that up. Okay, other than that, get your sample rate. Whatever the default is should be fine unless you're doing some kinds of monkeying with your audio setup outside of OBS. But whatever it's set to a default, don't worry about what mine is. Mine is set that way because that's what my audio box that this microphone runs into is set to. It is Fantasy Grounds Academy. And Gerlach, thank you for the follow. The other thing is down in video. You are most likely, unless your computer is very powerful or you're running a 2 PC setup, I highly recommend dropping 1920 by 1080 down to a 1280 by 720 stream and leaving 60 FPS to keep it smooth. But this will save you some CPU. And the quality on Twitch isn't that noticeable. Twitch honestly doesn't have the greatest video quality anyway. And then the only other thing is in output, you will need to change your bitrate. Honestly, the easiest way to find out what bitrate you should use is type in Twitch 720p bitrate. Twitch has a chart for these types of setups. So find 720p 60 FPS. The maximum allowed or the maximum recommended is 45 kbs, kilobytes a second. You can change that up or down. This is one of those things that you're going to have to play with. This will really, really affect the quality of the stream, but it will also, if you have a really, really slow internet, this can really mess your stream up, and you can end up with, what is it called? You can end up with weird artifacting. Yeah, so anything under, I personally, my personal setting is leaving it at around 4,000. That looks fine for 720p, and nobody will notice. Okay, after that's done, I'm gonna move my webcam, and then we're going to I'm gonna move my webcam to the opposite side of the screen. Hello, I'm on the opposite side of the screen now. I'm gonna create some scenes. I'm gonna show you the way that I organize them because I think it makes a lot of sense. So the first one is this first scene. I think we're just gonna rename. We're just gonna rename this one. I'm using the wrong keyboard. 2 PC setup. I am going to be teaching you how to do this on a 1 PC setup. I personally use 2 PCs for all of my streams. But I will be teaching you just a single PC setup because that's what most people run. So obviously first screen, I like to do my my scenes in order. So starting soon, add a scene. We'll call this one. I like to do for tabletop games. I like to do a non-combat scene. I did lose it. Oh man, I did. I missed the opportunity to yell magic. I'm sorry. It does look like I'm talking to the chat window. Hello, chat window. All right. So I like, in my role-playing game streams, I like to have a non-combat scene. This one will not have a Fantasy Grounds window. It is just the talking heads. The reason why I like that is when you're doing introductions and character intros and anything before the game actually starts, it's nice to have the players' windows just a little bit bigger so that they're a little bit more, it's a little bit more personal. So we'll create one of those. We create this one. I usually call this one combat, just because that's where you'll have your Fantasy Grounds window. You could just call this gameplay as well. Yeah, you could also, the non-combat one, you could also just call that a roleplay window. And then the next one, we're going to do a BRB. And then we're going to do a ending stream. So these are, these 5 right here are technically the only scenes you need, but I'm going to show you why you actually need more than that. So the next thing that I would do is I'd create another one, and I would just name this one a bunch of equal signs. And the reason for that is this is a divider. So that's why you know that these top ones are your main scenes that you will be switching between while the stream is going. These ones below the divider are for, or are what are called, they're what are called nested scenes. Nested scenes are very, very useful if you have multiple setups. And it's good. It's just a good, easy way to keep your sources cleaned up. And I'll show you why. Honestly, Drake Takes is these nested scenes that kind of are like having a production assistant. It's like having a digital production assistant. So the first one I'll create is a cameras, we'll call it cameras non-combat because I call the other one non-combat. If you're going to do role play instead of non-combat, I would do cameras role play. And then a cameras combat. Basically, you're basically mirroring what these two are, but with cameras in front of it. That's where your Discord screen will go. And then the only other one that you might want to consider, I don't always do this, but on Fantasy Grounds Fridays, I do. I have all of the normal overlay stuff. In fact, I can actually just turn it on all at one go. If I do that, all of this normal overlay stuff for Fantasy Grounds Fridays is all on one scene so that I can just add that to everyone. Obviously, this stream, it's a little different since I don't want all of the overlays. But you could consider doing something like that if you have elements that need to be on every scene, like a logo. If it's in the same spot, you could create like a logos scene. We'll leave that there. I don't know if we'll do anything with it. All right, and I think right now is probably a good time to actually hop out of OBS and hop over into Photoshop. You don't need to have Photoshop to do this, by the way. There's plenty of free photo editing softwares that any of these tools are usable in. So feel free to do this if you're watching it back later as a full-on tutorial. Feel free to do this in whatever. Hello. But yeah, we're going to use Photoshop because it's what I have and it's what I know. So we're just going to create a new file, and the only thing you want to make sure you do is you want it to be 1920 by 1080. You want it to be a regular 1080 HD project. We're going to create that, and then we're going to create a new layer and delete this. Whoops. That did not create a new layer, but we're going to delete this background because I don't like the white background. Just transparent is perfect. I'm going to bring out the GIMP. Yeah, you know, a lot of people love GIMP. I personally have never used it, but it is a popular one. So what I'm going to work on, or what we're going to work on creating first, is your starting soon screen. Now, the way that I would do this, typically, and I'll show you some places to get some good background out. So first, you're going to want a background image. I'll show you a couple of places, and I'll show you some of the places where I get a lot of my art for my streams. You're going to want to create a text that says starting soon. You're going to want to add any logos you want. And what we're going to do is that basically this screen right here is going to be the text, any logos, and all of that, but not the background image. The background image will load into OBS as a video file so that it can have some animation to it. Oh, great question. Does it need to be 1080 by 1920? It does not, but I do recommend doing it that high in case you decide to change later. Let's come back over here. So as you can see, the way that I have it set up, I have the base canvas set to 1080 or 1920 by 1080, but then it's only being outputted at 720. The reason for that is that I can make all of my assets at 1080p, and then if I ever get a better computer, upgrade parts, and decide to stream at a higher quality, I can up that. And it is honestly, this is just a little tip. It is better to down res than up res. So it is better it will look higher quality if you make it at 1080p and then you watch it at 720p, because you will take all of those pixels inside of your 1080 image. When they're shrunk down to about half the size, they'll look higher quality because the pixels will be smaller. That's the easiest way of putting it. That is also true. If you, the other reason to stream at a lower quality is, unless you're a Twitch partner, because Twitch partners always have the ability to select the resolution you watch at. Unless you're a Twitch partner, a good reason to stream at a lower quality is if Twitch doesn't allow your viewers to change the quality, it means that more people will be able to watch. Okay, we're going to come back over here and work on that starting soon screen. So the first one we're going to do, and I'm making these, just so you know, I'm making all of these assets kind of similar to the D&D and the Fantasy Grounds kind of default art. I have an example of what the starting soon text will look like. It's going to look like this. This is a free font. It's part of the Adobe font suite. So we're going to be using. Okay, we're gonna wait. Oh no, I don't have it. I don't have it on this computer. Really? That's weird because I have an older install of Photoshop and it has it. So wow, so professional. Okay, sorry, I lied. It's a Google font, not one of the Adobe fonts. But the font family we're using is Monsterette. It looks very, very similar to kind of the 5e, the D&D 5e art, and that's the one that I like. So we're just going to quickly download Monsterette and install. Two computers does get very, very confusing. I swear I have this font on this computer. That's what I think is weird. All right, let's see if that worked. Nope. I guess we're gonna have to pick a different font. because it's not showing up. Where is it? All right, I'm not going to spend forever on this. Make it fancy? Yeah, I'm not going to spend forever on this. I'm just a little annoyed that I literally just installed it and it didn't load. All right. That's fine. That's fine. We'll see. Do we have... It's fine. I'll use we'll make it like my Fabled Dice logo. We'll make it like the Fabled Dice logo. Did I restart Photoshop? I didn't, but I haven't had to do that in the past. That'll take too long. We're just... Oh, it doesn't like that font. Oh, new Photoshop don't like some of these fonts. No, it definitely does, because I install fonts in the middle of Photoshop projects all the time. It's not doing it this time, though. Yeah, I don't know what that was. So recently, I've been using I've been using CS6, which is the last version of Photoshop before they switched to, what is it called? One for, before they switched to the subscription service. And I have a number of projects that just will not open in the new version. All right, we're just gonna start over, new file, 1080p, create. Back up and running. I'm sure Blackmore still won't work for some reason, but does. Nope, Monster Rat doesn't show up. All right. Can open old Photoshop, I guess. CS6 is really solid. It is my favorite. I just I needed the new one because I got new, what is it called? What do they call it? I got a new camera. It has a new file format that is not supported on the old versions. Okay, yeah, wow. All right, we'll use this one because it's close. I'm actually, though, I'm gonna pause here. I am stunned that you are using 3 computers. I guess it makes sense because you have one for your but wow. I couldn't keep track of that. I have 2 computers and I can't keep track of them. All right. So I changed to a different font that is kind of it's actually really, really close to the one that I said we were going to use. So it'll work just fine. But basically, we're just going to create it. It's going to say starting soon. Whoops, I forgot that they changed that in Photoshop. It's going to say starting soon. We're going to drag it out. You want this to take up most of the screen. And then we're just going to center it. Oh, that's right. Yes, I do know about that, but my Synapse app is very, very finicky. So I try to use it as least as I can. The least that I can. Yeah, save often, right? Okay, so we're going to make a starting soon. It's going to be right in the middle. I like white text for what I'm doing. If you're doing a different type of logo, feel free to make the text whatever colors match your streaming source. And then the next thing I'm going to do, because obviously that's really hard to see, is we're going to give it a drop shadow. And then for this, I also do a stroke of like 4 pixels. We're going to go 4. Yeah. Yeah, that looks about right. And the other thing I do for the Fabled Dice logo, I did not do a stroke. I did a bevel. I did an outer bevel, chisel hard. Or not an outer bevel. Actually, it was an inner bevel. And it scrolled up to about there. And then I did I added a stone texture over it to make it look like stone. And actually to make it kind of look similar to the old Ravenloft logo, since Fabled Dice is a Ravenloft show. I was going to say, no, I didn't. But you did make me look, Drake. I've made a lot of overlays, so I've spelled starting a lot, but I would still not put it past myself to screw that up. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is... we're going to... Actually, I did not want to create a new layer because I want to create a new text layer. We're going to add... you should add the name of your show as well. Anyone got a show name that they want to use? We'll come back to that because actually what you really should do to add the show name is actually just take this logo, duplicate that, and then that way the text looks the same, so it all fits. You know, one of the really, really important things when designing the look of a stream, at least in my opinion, is consistency. Make your logos look similar, make all your stuff look like it meshes. So we're going to take that, we're going to drag it up. to the top middle. Good enough. Good enough. TTRPG typoed. Stream show. Obviously, that is way too big. What we're also going to do is shrink that in size. And if you hold Alt while you shrink it in size, it will scale around the center of the thing. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Put it like right there. Go good. Cool. TTRPG stream show starting soon. Maybe if you let's go look through if I have the Sirenscape logo really handy. If you're using Sirenscape like we'll do, I usually will add the sounds and music by Sirenscape. If you're using Fantasy Grounds, you can grab actually a number of Fantasy Grounds logos from the Fantasy Grounds wiki, and a lot of the stuff that I make today, we're going to be throwing up there. So let's say we add a Fantasy Grounds logo. Gotta represent, right? And let's see, because I thought I had a Sirenscape logo, but it might be somewhere else. Do I use a countdown? I actually don't use a countdown because I'm not consistent on starting and ending. Yeah. So no, I don't, but I understand the value of it. But that's just not something that I use. We find it in here. The siren. See if I have there. There we go. We will add the Sirenscape logo since you can hear it in the background right now. We're using their sound and music. Usually I put it down here in the corner like that. They have another version of this that says like sounds and music provided by Sirenscape. I would recommend using that one instead. And then honestly, this is all we need. If you have any other logos you want to add, feel free to place them around. We're going to save this. Actually, no, sorry. Photoshop's weird now. We're going to save as a copy as a starting soon screen on my computer, but not into there because we want it to go into here. What I do recommend is create a folder for whatever your show is and put all of your art in there so that it's always easy to find. We're going to save it as a PNG, as a ping file. And you can pick, it doesn't matter, pick whichever one of those. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do, we're going to come over here to starting soon. We're going to change this to be right back. Leave it exactly the same size, all of that. Cool. You don't actually have to change it. What I would honestly recommend, we'll do this properly. As I just accidentally deleted something that I didn't mean to. Whoa. There we go. All right, let's do this. Let's do this properly. So we'll take starting soon and we will duplicate. Then we'll call this be right back, and we'll just hide starting soon. Get in the habit when you're making stuff like this of not deleting. Be right back screen. As much as you can, try not to delete. And same thing, PNG, save, medium's fine. The reason for that is that if you ever decide to go back and make any kind of changes, you can really screw yourself up. And we'll do stream ending. Checkmark, hide, be right back. And whatever you do, if you have a mouse with buttons, don't click any of the buttons because that automatically adjusts the opacity and makes stuff invisible. Okay. My brain just shut down for a moment. Don't worry about it. It happens. Yes, I will be. I will be doing that. Unfortunately, I don't. Maybe I can get someone to hop in a video call with me so I can show you it properly. But yes, I will be doing that. I will be showing you how to do that. Cool. Steam Beth is on it. It's not going to be quite as accurate with only a single other person, but it'll show you how to get the basics down. And we'll be using Discord. I'll be showing you how to set it up with Discord. Stream ending. Perfect. And then we save that. Just double check you got everything before you close or minimize Photoshop. Cool. We've got all that. Want you to jump in? Yeah, we could do it with the two of you. I need to see Steam Beth join the Fantasy Grounds Discord. Oh, this is going to be very, very weird, I just realized, because I'm going to have to do it on this computer. So they won't be able to hear me besides on stream. Two computers. Very, very unfortunate. But we'll get into that. I don't need it right this second, but I'll let you know when. And I do want to check what that was. Okay. So starting soon screen, we're gonna start the starting soon screen. So the first thing is create an image source, name it starting soon image. You can just name it whatever you need it to be named. We're gonna browse for it because we're going to come over to that same folder. This is why I said create a folder, because now whenever I open up a import, it will open right into this folder and you'll just have everything right and ready to go. We'll select starting soon. Bam. Now we're going to need a background. But first we're going to come through and create one for all of these. Image. Be right back image. And then spell ending right, but ending image. Perfect. So we'll come back to starting soon. And what we're going to do is we're going to need to go and find a background image for this. I'm going to show you a few places, both ones where you can get them for free and ones where if you wanted to, you could potentially, pay for. But I'm going to show you the free ones first. There are two stock photo websites that I really, really like. There's Pexels. They've got lots of great stock photo images. You will probably have to browse a lot to find something that really works for your stream. And Pixabay is another great one. Another great site for finding images is on Etsy. There's tons of stream overlay stuff on Etsy. We go over here, stream overlay. There's just tons of stuff. And in fact, one of the images that we're going to use, I actually bought off of Etsy. And we're going to load that one right now. So if you're doing a video, not an image, if you're doing a video, you're going to want to load a media source. And we'll call this starting background. And I've got this fantasy tavern. Oh, and one thing, if it's a video, you make sure you click loop. Otherwise, it will just end. The way that sources work here is anything that's on the bottom will be behind anything else. So you want your background image to be at the bottom, and then we're going to want to lock both of those. That way I can't come over here and drag them around. Also, another really great place if you're doing D&D or TTRPG stuff is, this isn't sponsored, but I use a lot of his art in Fabled Dice. It's James RPG Art's Patreon. He's got a lot of really great looping animations for various role-playing game stuff, and I use a lot of his stuff for our stream, Fabled Dice. A lot of it you might, if you've been watching Fabled Dice, you'll probably recognize it if we come over here to his Curse of Strahd stuff. But this is another great place if you just need background stuff, and he's totally cool with you using it for your streams. So, and he's got still images and animated ones. But this is definitely a great resource. And still images are only like $1 per image, and animated ones are like $2. So it's not prohibitively expensive. But like I said, there's plenty of places for you to find free artwork. What I recommend you do, though, is just make sure, if it is free, that it is free for use commercially. And the reason for that is if you are a Twitch affiliate or you have any kind of donations or bits or subscriptions set up on your Twitch account, if it is not free for commercial use, it's one of those things where like it's not super likely, but they could come after you, and you don't want that to happen. You don't want your stream to get shut down because of a lawsuit, right? Nobody wants that. I don't want that. I don't want your stream to get shut down because of that. So just make sure it's free for commercial use. And if it says they need what is called a Creative Commons with attribution license, which means you have to provide a link to them, make sure you set that up in your TwitchBot timers. As you can see, we have one for our art. These are all the Bandits Grounds ones. We have one for our art. We have one to shout out Sirenscape. We have one for the music that I use for Curse of Strahd. Just make sure you give proper credit. That is very important, and sometimes gets overlooked when people are setting stuff up. You don't want to, credit your artists. All right. All right, so I'm going to quickly go through and just add that tavern scene as a background. Once you have something imported, by the way, you can always find it in this add existing. So you can always re-add it to anything you want. Makes it really handy. So that way you're not like loading the same image multiple times, because every time you load it, it will take more CPU. So really, have it once and you're good. Cool. Cool. And also this one, by the way, this image does have background audio. If it does have background audio, what I recommend you do, because I'm going to be showing you how to set up Sirenscape like I have it set up, is mute the audio and then click the little gear and click hide. So it's gone. And since the same source is being loaded into everything, it will just be gone. If you ever want to get it back, you can right click and unhide all. It'll come back. But just get rid of it. We don't need the sound effects from the image. We're going to add our own. All right, so let's come talk about, I'm going to start with the combat setup because I think it's the easier one to build. And the way we're going to build this is I'm going to load that same background. I thought about doing multiple backgrounds, but I think we'll just use the same background for everything just to keep it simple. Obviously, you can swap out whatever backgrounds you want, but we're gonna throw in a background. And then we're actually going to build all of the art. The entire overlay is going to be one single PNG image, which is what's going to keep it really, really performance friendly. We're going to build that whole thing in a Photoshop project. So the first thing we need to do is new. Same thing, you want a 1080p image, just like it's a regular old video. Delete that bottom layer because I don't like it. And the other thing you can do, if you want, I do this when I'm setting stuff up so that I can very, very easily tell what it's going to look like when it's done. And that is import the background image. We're going to hide this later, but pulling this in now so that I can see it when I'm building. So I know where everything is and how it's going to look. And then before we export it, we're going to turn it off. So we'll build that in now. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to create a new, I'm going to create a new thing, but I'm just going to mirror how I created this. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use this as a template because I want to get the size right. Basically because I just did not know what the size this was, but I'm going to show you how to make this webcam specifically. So what we're going to do first is we're going to grab the selection tool like this. And you could use, honestly, even if you went and just basically created a project file. What is the canvas size? Canvas size is 800 by 500 pixels. If you create an 800 by 500 image and then load in any 1080p, any like 1080 image, or if you're making maybe you're making a square frames, you could load one of those in. You could do that, and basically just using that as a template to draw out the webcam frame so that you know it's always going to be the right size. But we're basically going to drag this down and drag this across like that. So we're going to make a square. We're going to come up here. We're going to hold shift. If you hold shift, it's kind of hard to see because of the background, but the little arrows icon adds a plus sign to it. The reason we're doing that is it won't create a new one. It will add to it. So we're going to hold shift and whoops. Try to very, very carefully. Oh my God. All right, hold on. I was trying to get this precise, but maybe being precise is not in the cards. But we're going to basically drag in the inside. Oh, that is not actually working how I intended. Is that how? Oh, that is how. I am sorry. I momentarily had a lapse in judgment. It's not shift. You're going to want to hold alt so it's a minus sign. Basically what we're doing is we are deleting the selection inside this range. Perfect. Thank you. So you're going to now have a little rectangle. We might even, you know what? I think we're actually going to, I'm going to make this just our webcam for the show just a little bit bigger, just so that you can see it. We're going to create a new layer. So this is its own layer. We're going to create a new layer. And then what we're actually going to do, you could just go paint fill and fill that in and you get a box. We're not going to do that. We're going to hold down on the paint fill to get a gradient. And now a gradient will start at this color and will fade to this color. So we'll come over here and it's going to use the two colors down here. What we're going to do is we're going to select that color. The reason I'm using these two colors is these are two colors that Fantasy Grounds logos use a lot. At least the older Unity logos use these two colors a bunch, and that's what I modeled this after. So we're going to grab those two. Then we're going to start down at the corner of your webcam. We're going to drag the line all the way to the other corner and release. And I did it the wrong way. So we're going to do that same thing. If you don't like it, hit Control Z, do it in reverse. All right. Maybe we start just a little bit offset from the corner. This is all trial and error, by the way, what we're doing right here. Just keep messing around until you like how the gradient looks. I think I like that one. Cool. I'm going to hide the bottom layer so you don't see that. So now we've got this. You can hit Control D, and that'll deselect everything. Now we have a pretty plain, not very good looking webcam. So we're going to come over here to the layer. We're going to double click. We'll open up this window. Down at the bottom, add a drop shadow. We'll change the stuff later. And then we're going to add a bevel. The reason why we do the bevel is, as you can see, we turn it on and off. It gives it like that little 3D look. So it looks like an actual, like, three-dimensional object. So So we're just going to play with the settings until we find one that looks kind of good. Maybe we want it a little bit softer. I don't know. Are we making a harsh, solid window or something a little softer? I think harsh and solid because we've got pretty square corners. So I think just like that. There we go. All right, and then the drop shadow. We can also, let's use global light and let's play with that until we find the angle where it looks the most good. I usually like somewhere in like the 123-ish range. So the light's coming down from this side and shining that way. I think that typically looks the best, but that's personal preference. Cool. So we now have a webcam. This was the original, and this is the one that we made. You now have a simple webcam. Obviously, you can do this in whatever colors you need. Use whatever colors your logos and your stream wants to look. So we're going to take this now. Now that we have this, we can just drag this up here and drop it in. Now we've got a webcam frame. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to drag this up because the first thing I'm going to make is the, what I call the gameplay window. So we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Hello. I'm very, very good. How are you? We're going to make this a little bigger. We might do some like weird warping of this. If you hold shift, you can warp it so that's not necessarily the same size, but we're going to drag one of these up here like this. And we'll call this one Fantasy Grounds because that's what this is going to be for. All right, maybe we'll shrink that just a little bit. But this right here, this window is where we're going to be showing any kind of maps or anything like that on stream. Again, I'm showing you basically how I set up for my show. So basically, when we do the window capture, we're going to be taking a screen about from here over, and that's basically all I show. And then we're going to make a second window for the chat. The chat is very, very important for doing especially a virtual tabletop actual play stream. People like to see what the dice rolls are. So we're just going to take this one, right click and duplicate layer. We'll just call this one chat window. And we're going to move this. Chat window should be over here. And unlike the other one, we're going to shrink it so that it's just this little box. And we're going to be playing around with all of these sizes and stuff. I'm just basically roughing this out right now so we get it kind of close. Because obviously the next thing we need, I'll take the original again and duplicate. Duplicate, and this one's going to be the DM window or GM. We'll use GM. You're not necessarily streaming Dungeons and Dragons. I know that's what I do. We're going to put the GM window at the top. And I personally, my favorite spot for the GM's window is like right here. Right here in the top corner. And I highly, highly recommend don't make it go all the way to the corner. Leave some space for the background. The reason for that is obviously, hey, you can see the stream now. Phones these days, a lot of times have rounded corners or phone screens most people watch on their phones. Corners get rounded out. So if you put the webcam right at the corner, you might be losing some of yourself. So I like to come in just a little bit. You can use the arrow keys to get really, really precise. And then place that somewhere. Maybe we'll go like that big. Like I said, all of this is going to be resized and moved around. The other thing that you're going to want to do is for all of these webcams that we're going to make, is we're going to select those, and we're actually going to drag them down here to the bottom where you can't see because I'm covering it. Dang it. Hold on. Back to the other side. We're going to drag it down here to the folder. We're going to put those all in folders. DM webcam. The reason for that is that we can put text on these, and then they're all organized and saved so we know exactly where they are. Okay, so we got a DM window up there. We got our chat window. We got the Fantasy Grounds one. In fact, the chat and Fantasy Grounds one, I'm actually going to also put in a folder, and I'm going to call those gameplay windows. Okay, cool. Cool. Chat window, my personal preference on chat window is make it very, very close to the same size as the DM's window. Maybe shrink it in a little bit. Actually, hold on. Can I do, if we hold shift and alt? Yeah. If you hold shift and alt, it will scale around the middle of the image. So we can make it a little bit smaller than the GM's window, like that. That looks okay-ish. That looks okay-ish. It's not quite the right size because we still got to put player webcams down here, but we'll do that in a minute. Next thing we're going to do is inside of the DM webcam. I still called it DM. We're trying to be system neutral, but I don't always manage. What we're going to do now is we're going to add some text. Make sure everyone gets labeled properly. So just label it Game Master. Basically, what I recommend is whatever you did for your starting soon text, mirror that or close to on your all of these, as long as it's readable when it's small. So if you go and look at my Fabled Dice stream overlay, in fact, I can actually pull that up as an image. I have it in here somewhere. I've got a whole bunch. As you can see, I have a ton of stream art. I make so many different overlays for different things. So I want to find whatever the most recent one is. There we go. I think it's this one. What you'll notice though is that instead of the because the starting soon and all of that on Fabled Dice, I use a stone texture on all of the text. But when it's shrunk down really small, that stone texture is very hard to see. So when I do it for the overlay, I just do it white. We'll just do that. We'll double click. Double click pulls up the layer styles window. Give it a drop shadow and a stroke because we want it to be the same. Obviously, we can't do the same amount of pixels though, so we're gonna try 2. Maybe 3? No, 2. I'm gonna do 2. Game Master, you can do it at the top or the bottom. For the Game Master, I typically do the bottom, and then the players, I do the top. You can do it whatever way you want. Yeah. Could you imagine if I just streamed until Josh started? It's not going to happen, but it would be kind of funny. We're gonna do that. The other thing that we could do is that we could create a little box to go behind the Game Master window, which I might do. I think I will do just because it does make it a little bit more obvious, easy to see. But we'll worry about that later. We're gonna take this now. We're gonna take the whole folder. We're gonna duplicate that for however many players you have. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do this with 4 players because that's my preferred. Player 1. You just double click on the text to edit it. Player 2. Player 3. And player 4. Cool. We're going to hide all those except for number 1. I'll bring number 1 down here. Same thing again. Remember what we said. Don't let it actually hit the bottom. Just move it up. I would love some Death Wish coffee. I don't have any Death Wish Bane, but I do have something similar. It's a small coffee brand made in Alaska that's similar. Yeah, I personally 4 is my personal favorite for a stream. But 5 works fine too. So we're going to move that down there. We'll do the next one, player 2. And we're basically, and actually, you know, the way that I should have done this is I should have just moved it first and then just used the arrow keys to shift it over. That way they stay all lined up. But I guess we're just going to do it this way. Your guides are very, very helpful, just so you know. Okay, we're doing about a 5 pixel gap between them, and that won't be enough. I think it looks the best on a stream overlay. I agree. All right, so here's an issue that gets frequently ran into. We run out of space. So what we could do is we could either, there's a couple of things that you can do if you're building an overlay and you don't quite have the room. We can shrink the webcam frames. We can just make all of the players smaller by going like that. Honestly, it probably doesn't have to be that much. We could do that. That looks fine, I think. We could maybe make there a slightly bigger gap in there. The other thing that you could consider, and this is what I did for the Fallout one shot. If you remember the Fallout stream that I did, all of the windows for the players were actually squares. I did a 4:3 aspect ratio instead of my usual 16:9. I think that this looks fine like this. Looks like they're all lined up at the bar. So I think we'll leave it roughly like that. The only other thing that you're gonna want to do is get it lined up right in the middle. Try to keep things, you know, as lined up as you can, unless you're going for something really, really quirky looking. Okay, and then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of the text for the players. To select multiple pieces of text, you can just hold Control. Obviously, each program has its different, whatever you call them, different hotkeys, but Control is a pretty standard one. So we're gonna move those to the top, and then start renaming them. Whoops, not renaming them. Double click it and then change the actual text itself. Player 1. And when I say double click, I mean double click on the little square box where the T is to highlight it for editing. Player 2. Player 3. And player 4. All right, so there we go. That's not a terrible, terrible setup, right? That's pretty good. I think the next thing I'm going to do, though, is probably play with the size of the chat, or not the chat window, play with the size of the Fantasy Grounds window. I highly recommend have as little blank space as you can. So I think we can probably just increase the size of that a little bit and maybe move it up just a little bit. Maybe we'll even move it as far up as to line up with the Game Master window. That way that is the top of all overlays. And then I'll probably also move it over to there, and then we can drag this down a little bit bigger. Okay, so we have a little bit of space there. That's fine. And we have a little bit of space there, and then, of course, around everything. And I think that's passable. That's, if we turn this off, this is what it looks like with no background. And I think that is perfectly fine. This is what it looks like. So The next thing we're going to do, because the one thing I don't like is I don't really like the text the way that it is we're going to create a little, like a little background for the text, and then we're going to import this into OBS, and then I'm going to do another version of this for the non-combat, and then we will be ready to get into the technical side of getting players in and sound effects. Cool. So that's how you create little overlays. So we are going to create something new. This one is going to be a custom, because I really don't only need it like that, just a small little background thing. In fact, what I might do, I might come over here, and a lot of times what I'll do is I'll use this to kind of size up what I need. Say we select that, like that. Actually, let's start at the edge and go all the way across, leaving some space on the top and bottom like that. You're going to hit Control-C because we want to copy all of that. The reason why we want to copy that, if we come over to New, you'll have a clipboard option. And that will make a... It did not, because I didn't actually select it. What? Okay. Can we... All right, well, it's not making it the right size, and that is frustrating. That's fine. We can just create it over here. We actually don't need to do it the way that I was doing it. It's just something that I prefer. So we're gonna do this, and I think we're gonna make it this same color as the bottom. So we're going to click on our color, grab the eyedropper, and grab one of those colors. Maybe we'll grab the darker one. Okay. And this time, instead of the gradient, we're just going to paint bucket. We're just going to fill that in. You're going to keep this selected this whole time. And the reason for that is that we're also going to come over to filter, blur, and then probably not that one, actually. Yeah, not Gaussian blur. Which one do I want? Perhaps radial or motion. Nope, definitely not radial. This is what happens when you don't plan everything, because I didn't know that I was going to add this. Here we go, box blur. Looks all right, I suppose. Motion was a little bit more what I wanted. Maybe like right there. The reason we're doing it like that is that it fades out a little bit. It's not quite how I wanted it. I'm trying to remember because I had an asset made like this for a different thing. I don't remember what blur I used to give it the to keep it, what is it called? There we go. Basically to keep it the tops pretty solid, and then it just blurs directionally. But we don't have a directional blur. I wonder if that was an old Photoshop thing that got removed. All right, we'll just do it like this. Let's do it like this. This is good enough. Move this over here. Obviously, we're going to have to resize. Resize it to fit over your text. And then drop it into GM Webcam. That did not drop into GM Webcam, though. Oh, no, it did. It did. I just couldn't see it. and then drop it to the bottom under the text, but above the actual webcam. And there you can see it just kind of makes the text pop out just a little bit more, makes it just a little bit more readable. We're going to take this, duplicate, and we're just going to do this exact same thing onto all of these player windows as well. Remember to resize. Line it up there, and we're good. And then once we have it onto one of the webcam frames, it's really easy to duplicate, move it, and then hold shift, because when you hold shift, you move 10 pixels at a time instead of 1, and then just use your arrow keys. Move it over. Just again, duplicate. Move it over. And we'll do this one last time for the last player. Bring it down under the text. And then just hold shift and use your arrow keys, because the arrow keys will lock it to those specific movement points. There we go. Now we have I would call a passable overlay setup. It's very similar to the Fabled Dice one. The biggest difference is that I used a streaming art pack from a company called Nerd or Die, which is a great name. Do I still have them opened? Yes. From a company called Nerd or Die. I get a lot of my overlay packs from them. They've got a bunch of free stuff. If you're wondering what the Fabled Dice one is, it's called Wicked. It was their Halloween themed one, and it actually was a free one. But all of their stuff, like I mentioned, make sure you have stuff that is free to use. All of their stuff is, and yeah, they've got a lot of stuff for all different like genres of things you need. Obviously, they specialize in like video game streaming type of overlays, but as you can see, you can very easily take those and edit them and configure them to fit for a TTRPG stream. The point of this was to show you how to get into the basics of creating your own art, if you so desire. And you know what? I might even play around with this this layer. This thing, we might give it its own drop shadow just to make it a little bit more impactful. And no, not that. Yeah, we might give it its own drop shadow though. And if you want to copy that, you can actually right click any layer that has layer styles and copy those over. All right, I know we're going over a lot of Photoshop stuff. So I apologize. We're gonna drop the Photoshop stuff about right now, just as soon as I get all of these pasted, and then we export it. Okay. Perfect. Once again, we'll be taking questions. Anyone has any, feel free to ask. If you're on Twitch, use the Twitch channel points down at the bottom of the screen. All right. So we're just going to call this stream overlay. This is from GIMP. I personally am using Photoshop. You can do this in GIMP really easily. Stream overlay, and we'll just call it, we'll call this one combat because that's what this one's going to be used for. Okay, good. We're going to move back over into OBS finally. But yeah, anything that I'm showing can be done in any other photo editing software. I'm only using some like really, really basic stuff. Creating shapes, layer styles, and stuff like that is usable in all of that. You're learning a bunch of Photoshop. Yeah, I am not a Photoshop master. That would be Brad is our Photoshop master. But I'm passable at Photoshop. I can make Photoshop work. I occasionally feel like I do good. I personally feel like the Fabled Dice overlay is probably my favorite that I've ever created. I think it's a really, really nice design. We actually, Drake Takes, I believe we are. I've been in talks with the person that runs, compiles the Fantasy Grounds wiki, and a lot of this art that I am working on right here will get provided on the Fantasy Grounds wiki page. So this webcam frame that we just built will be uploaded there, as well as I will make sure that he also gets some of the new logos. We're even talking about Twist Eric's arm. No, he was the one that offered. He full on offered. The other thing is that I'm seeing if we can get a special Fantasy Grounds logo made for the Fantasy Grounds affiliate program. Yeah, so we're going to get all of those up there for everyone. Ms. Spiteworks looked at setting up an API or by other means to pass Fantasy Grounds stats to OBS. Oh, yeah. I don't know. That's going to be an I don't know, but it's also going to be a probably not. I know that Gaming Buddhist has ProStream, which I have used. I've used it multiple times, actually. I even had to go and hack together a way to send that that info from this computer to the streaming computer. But I don't think that we're pursuing it. And my only issue, because I love ProStream, I think it's a really, really great plugin. I think it does a lot of really, really cool stuff, especially the health bars. Speaking of the Fabled Dice icons, one of the cool things about those health bars that I don't use anymore, since I don't use ProStream anymore, because it gets very, very CPU intensive. It makes my computer start to run slow. But one of the things that I did is that these bars at the bottom of each of the players' stream, those were actually health bars for a long time. They would go down for, if you watch a number of our streams, you'll see them go down. Yeah, and it is complicated if you switch between tables. But I do think it's a really, really great extension, and I do recommend it, at least looking into it and trying it to see if it works for you. Could probably... the way that I had to do it was I had to basically... since both of the computers are on the same network, I do access this computer's documents folder from the other computer. And it worked okay. It would still slow the computer down. All right, so let's get into the technical side. So first off, we're going to go combat gameplay. And first thing we're going to do, add an image. I'm going to call this Stream Overlay Combat. Add that in, browse, and we're going to get that image that we just made. Look at that. There you go. All nice and set up. Ready to go. And if you notice down here at the CPU, it doesn't really use that much. The thing that's using the most is actually that background. Any kind of background videos take a lot. And that's just something that can't be avoided. This one actually might use hardware decoding. Might help. Okay. So now we're going to talk audio for a minute. This is where we're going to get really, really technical. So stay with me. Don't get lost. You could do that. In fact, my preferred overlay design was actually partially inspired by the one that he included. All right. So we're going to come down here. We're actually going to lock this too. Get in the habit of locking your sources if you're not actively moving it. Nothing is worse than trying to move something else and then grabbing the one that's on top and doing that. It's a little bit easier now that OBS finally added a undo button. But back in the day, honestly, this was just like a few months ago, maybe about a year ago, actually. There was no undo button. We should do that. We absolutely should do that. That'd be really fun. Okay, we're gonna talk audio. So at the start of the stream, I had you because when you set up OBS, it adds all of these. I had you disable all of them, and this is why. So we're gonna come over to the starting student screen first. We're gonna add a source, and we're going to add an audio output capture. Audio outputs are sounds coming from your computer. Audio inputs are microphones going into your computer. So we're gonna add an audio output capture, and we're gonna call this Sirenscape because we're gonna set up Sirenscape audio. Next, this is where it gets complicated. Obviously, you can see I have Sirenscape Online loaded. You've been hearing it. I will not be showing how to get Sirenscape Online set up. You do need a Sirenscape subscription. You can go find out all about that. But I do recommend it at least to have the background audio, but especially the online player, because you can send all these sounds to your friends. But we're going to load this. And then now you probably don't know what source to use. Do not leave things on default. That is my personal opinion. That's how I set stuff up. Never leave stuff on default. So we're going to come over here. Now we're getting into Windows settings. Oh boy. But we're going to come over here to the little speaker icon. We're going to go to sounds. Actually, I don't think I wanted to go to sounds. I lied to you. We're not going to sounds. We're going to sound settings. I'm showing you on Windows 10. This is the same on Windows 11, but some of the buttons are in slightly different spots. So we're going to come over here. We're going to scroll down. We're going to find app volume and device preferences. We're going to grab Sirenscape first, and we're going to change that, and we will change it to... I'll change it to... actually... I need to change it to whichever one is going to the stream, because if I don't, it will not work right. We're going to change it to that one. Cool. So now, when we come over here, if we select this, you can see Sirenscape is still playing. If we change to one of the others, it will not be playing. But we want it there. Cool. And then save changes. Don't get through like a bunch of stuff and then click off of it and delete it. Cool. Next thing, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's first create a group called audio. Keep stuff in groups. Keeps it all nice and thin and organized. And put Sirenscape inside that group. Okay, we're going to add we're going to add an audio output capture. And this one we're going to call Discord. And I'm going to select this one. This is VB audio, virtual audio cables. This is it's sort of an old virtual audio cable software. As you can see by the website, that's like really, really old. But they work very, very well. Basically what it is it adds extra audio inputs to your computer that you can send stuff to. The reason why we use those is to keep all of your audio separated from each other. The more separated you keep those, the more control you have over it on stream. So we're going to open up Discord, and I will come over here to this, and we will actually jump into the Fantasy Grounds Fridays channel in a moment. Oh, actually, I'm going to need to do that now just to get... just to get it to show up here. And then the other thing you want to do is you will need to go into settings, voice and video, and make sure that the output is going to that cable input or whatever output you want your voice chat going to. We're using that one. Okay, so we're going to select the same one right there, and then we're going to come over here on that Discord source and cable input. And I have done something. You can see there's people there. I can see that I have done something wrong, or something is not connecting properly. Cool. Oh, you didn't get full permissions. All right. All right. So we're gonna go really, really quickly to a be right back screen. Actually, I can just do it on this computer. I lied. I have two computers. What am I doing? What am I doing? I can just set it up over here. There. You have it now. And actually, I think I'll join over here too. I think I can I be joined on both? I don't know. I cannot. Cool. So we learned something. You can't join from two locations. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to plug in a microphone to my other computer so that we can set this up properly. Okay. We're gonna come back over there. So give me like 10 seconds to plug in a microphone so that they can hear me. Oh no, I've been deleted. Okay, I'm back. I know it's just a test, but it's easier if you can hear me so I can tell you what I need you to do. Okay, Discord over here. This is plugged in now. Voice and video, input, blue snowball. Cool, can you hear me? Okay, and I just realized that we were building this audio on the wrong channel. That's fine. Because we can just come over here, add a group, add audio. There we go. All right. I can't hear you right now, but I'm going to get that set up really quickly, but I need one of you to say something so that I can see if it's working. Perfect, it is. All right. So at the start of the stream, I mentioned that you will need a plugin. It's called Audio Monitor. And here's why you need that. If you're doing your audio setup like me, where there's multiple sources and all of that, you will a lot of times not be able to hear stuff properly. Makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to filters, the plus sign to add, and we're going to add an audio monitor filter. And the output is going to be whatever output you hear from. Can you say something now?
Something now?
There we go. We can hear him. We can hear him.
Woo.
Perfect. I will be turning down Sirenscape for a little bit so that we can hear you. All right. So we've got that audio. We've got Discord audio. And the only other one that you really absolutely need is, well, kind of obvious. You need a microphone. Go add yourself a microphone, pick your microphone, hit OK, drop it in there, and make sure that you can see it. Cool. We now have all three of the audio sources that we need, and I'm also going to delete that from there because you don't need all of that audio on the starting soon screen. Oh no, OBS froze. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Well, we'll wait for it to respond, or it'll crash, and we'll just reopen it. One of the nice things about OBS is that it always auto saves, and you very rarely lose stuff if it randomly shuts down on you like this. Number one rule, save often. You don't save in OBS though. It saves for you. All right. Yep. Close program. Cool. I still hear and see you. Yes, of course you do. Of course you do. That's because that's a completely different computer with no with a completely different OBS install. Okay. Oh, patience is number one. That's right. How could I forget? All right. So now we have all of this set up. Just to double check, Discord people, can you say hello?
Hello.
Cool. So we've got Steam Beth from Fabled Dice and Paulette from Smiteworks on Discord. Everyone can see you. Wave. Oh, I see Cusco over there in the corner too. Okay. All right. So we're coming back over to OBS and we're gonna talk about this. So now we've got. Oh, that came out of nowhere. We got that set up. And then over here on the starting soon screen, we're going to actually add this to all of the others. We are going to add an output capture just for Sirenscape. That way you can still hear the Sirenscape stuff on all of these without hearing Discord or your webcam or your microphone or any of that. This way, when you switch to these scenes, the sound is gone. Yeah, cool. Cool. Back over to the main scene. Maybe do the magic camera to the other side. Oh, that's a good call, huh? Good call. Magic camera. Okay. Back over here. Yeah, so all we did is we added the Sirenscape audio, not the whole folder. Because on starting soon, be right back, and ending, you only need the Sirenscape. You only need your background sounds. Okay, back over here. The next thing we're going to talk about, this is all very, very important stuff. Honestly, probably the most important part of setting up a good, good's not a right word. That's a kind of a mean word to use, but setting up a quality actual play stream is your audio setup. So we're going to open up the filters for your microphone. We're going to start with the microphone. So the way you do that, you click that little gear icon. We're going to click that open. Filters opens up this window. Cool. Now we're going to start. This is going to get kind of scary and a little bit technical. We're going to do some audio processing to make everyone sound as good as they can. You don't need an expensive microphone like mine to do this. As you can see, the one that I'm using right now for this stream demonstration is a Blue Snowball, which is a pretty common live streaming microphone. So first things first, what you are going to want to do is go to your sound settings, your Windows sound settings. So down at the bottom of the screen, you have your speaker icon. I know you can't see it because I'm covering it, but you're just going to right-click that and click Sounds. Basically what I said before, but actually this time. Go over to Recording, Microphone, right-click that, go to Properties, set your levels. That's probably fine there. Basically just a little bit under 100. You don't want any kind of clipping on the microphone itself. If the microphone itself clips, your audio will sound not great. So first we're going to come over here. Honestly, the first thing I'd recommend doing, I'm not going to do it for this because we don't need to hear myself twice, like it's doing right now, is add an audio monitor. So that while you're working on this, you can hear what it sounds like. But we're going to close that off. So the first effect we want is we're going to add gain. We're just going to call it a gain. And we're just going to boost this up a little bit. What you're looking to do is get your audio right about there. Just under the 0. So a lot of people, okay, that was too loud, obviously. A lot of people see the red in OBS and think, oh God, stay away from the red, don't get close to it. That's actually not true. OBS is, audio meters are a little bit weird. Honestly, as long as you're under 0, as long as it doesn't go completely red like that, you're fine. But you want it up and around this little -5 right there. You do want your microphones to be kind of loud. So just play with the gain until you get it right about there. And then your normal talking voice doesn't go over that. Cool. The next thing we're going to add is... The next thing we're going to add is a compressor. I'm going to use the default compressor, although the one that I normally use is a free plugin. As you can see, I have a bunch of plugins. The one that I normally use is a free compressor plugin from Reaper. It looks like this. This is the one that I normally use. You can get it by searching replugs, REA plugs. But we're not going to use that today. We're just going to use the default one because I think it's a little easier to understand. Okay, so we're going to put on a compressor. Sounds scary if you've never done audio processing. I'm going to walk you through it. It's not that bad. So the way that the person who taught me audio processing taught me what a compressor was is he described it like this. A compressor is a turner upper, turner downer, which sounds really dumb, but that's exactly what it does. It takes the loudest points of your audio, turns those down, takes the quiet points, and turns those up. It compresses the loud to quiet together. And the reason why we want that is that way if you whisper, it sounds like a whisper, but it's not too quiet. And then if you yell, it doesn't get too loud. The way it stays the same, but you can still kind of hear the difference. So the first thing we're going to do is this ratio is way too high. Your ratio should be down around 3 or 4 to 1. I personally keep mine for stream at about 3.5. This is all personal, not only personal preference, but this is all different based on your voice. Everyone's voice and microphone is going to need different settings. So this is going to need some trial and error, but we're going to turn that right there. Threshold is how loud you have to get before it starts turning you down. I usually pull this down to about the we'll say about -18 to -10, usually around 13 or 14. Like right about there. Attack, you want to attack quite fast for this. We're actually going to turn attack all the way down to 1. But release, you want probably a little bit higher than that. Maybe 75 or 80. We'll go 85. And the reason for that is something really jarring that can happen is if your release is too fast, your audio will pulse like it's a beat. You don't want that. And then output capture, you can leave at or output gain. Output gain you can leave at 0, or you can bump it up if you think your voice needs to be just a little bit louder. But that's a pretty good setup right there. You can see where the audio is catching right there around 5. But if I get loud, it goes up high. But it's not getting all the way to 0, as you can see, which is important. Okay, next thing we're going to add is we're going to click on this, and we're going to add. Sometimes I use an expander, and sometimes I don't. I don't think we're going to use one today, but we are going to do a noise gate. Noise gate. Also pretty simple. It just stops any extra noises that aren't your voice. Basically, if you're not talking, it shuts your mic off. If you talk, it turns your mic on. Noise gates are, again, kind of personal preference and based on your microphone setup. So the closed threshold is how quiet the room has to get to close down. And the open threshold is how loud you have to be to then trigger that to talk. Or trigger that to let sound through. So the way that I have mine set up for this stream right now that you're watching is I have it at minus 43 for closed, minus 33 for open. You do want your close needs to be, the bar for your close needs to be lower than the open threshold. Obvious. I say obviously it's not obvious to everyone who doesn't know. But the reason for it is, if your close is higher, then it'll just never reopen. Do I have noise gate for screaming kids? No, I do not. It depends on how loud the kids are, actually. If your kids are far enough away, you could noise gate them out. The other thing that you want to do is 25 milliseconds for the attack, too high. Put that around 1 or 2 milliseconds. Very, very fast. Hold time you can leave right there. And then release time, I go a little bit faster. 2 to 400. And again, the reason is to stop that pulsing so that it just fades back up instead of hearing you talk and then bam, it stops. And if you make this a little bit too aggressive, what it'll try to do is it will try and close the microphone in between words, and you don't want that. It sounds very jarring and robotic. So this is the setup I use. You're going to have to play around with it. Like I said, add an audio monitor. And actually, I'm going to mute this mic for a second. So it's like that. I might even make the release a little bit faster. Maybe 150 was right. Okay. Now, obviously, your microphone should be much closer to your face. It should be closer like this. As you can see, this sounds considerably better than when I was far away. If you still have lots of background noise, you can also add a noise suppression. I'm going to throw that in right there. It's very... Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is because of my audio processing for this stream. It's basically coming through the same channel as Sirenscape is. So, yeah, I imagine it would sound a little weird for you. So we'll go back to my normal mic. We'll go back to my normal my normal microphone for now. You can add a noise suppression if you want. I recommend try to use as little noise suppression as you can. Noise suppression makes stuff sound robotic, but sometimes it is absolutely necessary. And the only other thing that you will need to add to, way back. Yeah, that's because this mic is, this mic has all of the proper processing. And what I will do after I get all this set up is I'll go onto the stream that everyone's watching right now, and I will disable each of the different audio effects so you can hear what the microphone sounds like with nothing, and then I'll add them back in one at a time so you can hear what they do to it. But the only other thing is you want to add a limiter down right at the bottom. So what this limiter does is it takes your sound. It takes whatever you set this to. We're going to actually set this to -2. But it takes anything that tries to get louder than -2 and it stops it right there. And then the release we can bring up a little bit. But the reason for that is this, a limiter right there will make sure that your microphone never clips. It will never get too loud. It'll stay right where it needs to be. So that's it. That's what your audio chain for your microphone should look like. And we're basically going to copy all of these when we do the audio processing on Discord. We're going to make basically the same choices. But with some minor adjustments. And the other thing that you might want to consider adding, I mentioned replugs. You can get that by searching REA plugs, getting this free. These are free audio processing plugins. The only other thing that you might want is Replugs has a really good compressor. It's totally free. You can go and get that. And we will actually, not compressor, equalizer. We will actually add an equalizer, not equalizer, EQ. Oh, tell the stream's running long when I'm starting to say the wrong thing. But this is something so that you can shape your audio. So this is a very, very voice-centric thing. It's going to be different for everyone. What I would say is add a high pass on the very, very end and cut all that out. This cuts out any kind of low humming noises. And then you can just shape your audio to make your voice sound a little bit better. Cut out any frequencies that sound bad and add in any that sound good. The way that you can tell is obviously, like I mentioned, audio monitor, keep that running so you can hear it. Audio monitor does need to be at the very, very bottom. If it is above any of these plugins, you won't hear the plugin. So keep audio monitor at the very bottom. But then you can just go in and listen. The easiest way to find bad frequencies is adjust one of these points all the way to the top and move it around until you hear something that sounds really, really gross. I'll show you what that sounds like in a second, but you'll definitely hear it. And then just drag that down a little bit. And it'll make it it'll make that specific frequency quieter. So it'll cut it out of your voice. And once you got that set up, you have your mics, you have your physical mic or the streamer set up. Perfect. We're done. We can close out of the mic filters. I will, however, right now, since I mentioned it, show you what my audio processing sounds like. So we're going to come through and cut out everything. This is what my microphone sounds like with no filters. Okay. This is just absolutely microphone plugged into audio box, plugged into computer, nothing else. Okay. We're going to add in that gain like I mentioned. We're going to add that compressor. All right. This is what it sounds like with just gain and compressor. We're going to add in the noise gate. I'm going to add the EQ. And then I'm going to add the limiter to stop me from getting too loud. All right. All in OBS. Yes, so that was what I just changed, was all in OBS. So, hey Cybernation, how you doing? Thanks for the raid. Welcome everyone. I'm teaching how to set up a stream using Fantasy Grounds. Mostly how to set up the stream though. We're talking audio right now. We're talking audio processing chain. Very interesting stuff. All right. Yeah, so this was all done. In fact, I will open this again so you can see it. This was all done in OBS. No third party, anything. And in fact, as long as you don't want the EQ, all of those plugins are built into OBS. The only one that I used that is outside of OBS is this EQ, and this is a free plugin anyway. But that is set. Cool. Next, we're going to need to do the same thing for Discord. And I'm actually going to, what is EQ? It is an equalizer. Basically what it does is, it's got this like little chart. You can see that waveform on there. That is my voice. What it does is each of this little grid represents the different frequencies, the different pitches of your voice. So you can add or subtract frequencies that sound good or bad. In fact, I will show you I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab one of these and whoops. I'm going to turn on my my monitor so that I can hear myself. So we're going to grab one of these and I'm going to drag it around and you'll see how you can hear the different pitches of my voice. And then you'll see how to find bad frequencies in your voice and cut those out. So what I'm going to do, you won't see it because it's on the streaming computer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab number 3. I'm going to drag it around like this until I find something that sounds bad. When I hear that, I'm going to drag it down so it goes away like this. All right, so I'm just going to talk for a minute. There's something kind of funky right here. Do you hear that like high-pitched whine in the background? That's a little weird, so we might drop that. We're going to keep talking. Personally, I think right here on my voice sounds a little weird. This is about at 1K. So I just dropped that just a little bit to get out. You can hear there's that weird background frequency that it's just like, yeah. Frequencies aren't created good or bad. No, and that's why like that also, oh my God. So that the thing with equalizers is you can't just copy my setup. Everyone's voice is different. Everyone's voice sounds different. And every voice needs a different EQ. So that's what I did on mine, and that's what it sounds like when you do that. All right. Cool. Now we can get over to, why can I still, oh, that's still on. There we go. Now we can get over to, what about the alignment? All of my alignment are neutral evil. All of my frequency alignment is neutral evil. That's a fact. All right. Now we can get over to Discord audio processing. So we still have that audio monitor in there. Remember, this is that free plugin for OBS I mentioned, audio monitor. You can just search it by typing in Google OBS audio monitor. You probably need that. I recommend it a lot. OBS has its own built-in audio monitoring system, but it's not very good. The plugin version is way better and has way more control. Anyway, we're going to come down here. We're going to add Just like before, we're going to start with a gain. Wandering Drew, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, we're going to start with a gain. And for Discord, honestly, make this pretty low. You don't need the Discord gain very high. Can I get one of you to talk for a minute? Tell us a quick little story.
About the story that I'm not a bot.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of people lately since I'm sending messages on Twitter, and on Twitter I'm under the Fantasy Grounds, but on Twitch I'm under my own personal. So people have thought I was a bot sending them the information about the affiliate link. If you don't want to click on it because you're not sure that it's me, no problem. The Fantasy Grounds website. Go to the right-hand side of the main page, find help, click on that, go down to where you see become an affiliate, click on that.
Is this an advertisement for the affiliate program?
It is.
You wanna drop the link to that in chat for everyone? By the way, if you do stream with Fantasy Grounds, you should absolutely join the affiliate program. All right. Okay, so we've got the gain set. We're gonna go compressor now. Now that we've got everything boosted up, we're gonna go with a compressor. And like I said, this is gonna be a very, very, very similar setup. So attack, same thing. You want that down like 1. You want the attack to be very, very fast, and you want the release to be kind of slow. We'll probably do it about there. Your ratio, again, 10, way too high. Ratios should be somewhere between like 3 and 4. I think we're going to go 4 on this one. All right. Can I get another story?
Story time. I've seen Bryce almost break an axe when he was throwing axes.
Okay, that's cool. That's an impressive story. So here's hold on. Here's a quick tip because I want to point this out because Paulette is much louder than Steam Beth on this call. So what you can do is if Discord loads, my Discord's having issues. But what you can do if individual people in your call are louder than others, if you right click on them, it's supposed to pull up a window so you can adjust their volume individually. But it's not working right now. So we'll turn Beth up to like 150. Say something?
Something. Yeah, it's supposed to pull up a little volume meter, but
that's a little better. All right.
I'm loud anyway.
Okay. Next, I'm not going to add the EQ since, again, I said I was going to do this with only the built-in ones, but this would be where you would put in an EQ is right here. The big benefit to adding an EQ over Discord is you can get really, really aggressive and drop off a lot of low frequency because sometimes Discord calls introduce a lot of like low, grumbly hum, and you don't want that. Anyway, right at the bottom, but still above the audio monitor. Audio monitor has to be at the very, very bottom. You're going to want to put in a limiter, and remember, we said we're dropping it at -2. I'm actually going to go a little bit lower than -2, but we're going to drop it at -2. That way they, on Discord, cannot get any louder than that. They will never hit the 0. So can we get another talk for a second?
Sure. Am I still loud? Now, we can talk at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good test of it to see if it's equal or not.
Now, way we know
it is,
too
but it is a
loud.
little quiet. So if your people start talking and it's a little quiet, keep talking. You can just adjust that gain.
Because I've been in games where you had normal sounds and somebody was so quiet you could barely hear them.
Actually, sorry, I did lie to you. If you need to adjust the gain, don't go to the gain filter that's at the top. Do the one in the compressor. Otherwise, you'll have to change the compressor. Okay, go talk.
I was gonna say in our weekly game, I usually have to turn some of our players up or down because some of them are really loud, some of them are really quiet.
Okay, right like that. And as you can see, there is the audio setup, and it's just about as loud as me, which is about where you want it to be between your players and the person running the stream.
Is audio harder or video harder to set up in your opinion?
Video, because I have frequent problems with OBS Ninja, which is why I don't use it. And Discord recenters video sources if people leave.
All right.
I find audio is probably more technical to set up, but it has way less problems once it's set up. Once audio is set up, it's there. We can lock it, and we're almost done. The only other thing I'm going to show you is something very special that I do for all of my streams now. What it does is, and I will get some Sirenscape music that's kind of loud so that you can hear it. But what this is going to do is it's going to, whenever I talk or voice chat talks, it will turn down the volume of Sirenscape so that your voices are always louder than Sirenscape. No matter how loud the sound is coming from background stuff, the people will always be louder than it. This is very good, especially for like combat scenes, because, and we've all been there. I've certainly have ran plenty of streams where the background audio gets loud and makes it hard to hear players' voices. So that's why we set it up this way. Yeah, Drake takes. I know how it works. Every time I've used it, we've had webcam issues. I think it's some of my players' internet isn't quite good enough for OBS Ninja to support it. So we're gonna go over to like a battle sound. So as you can hear, yes, that popping sound was likely the fire in the background, the fake fire sound. As you can see, combat is a much louder sound effect, but when I start talking, it makes it quieter, right? So that's why I'm going to show you how to set it up like this, so that even if, and the other thing I actually do recommend is I turn global volume down to around 60%, and then I turn one-shot volume way up. So one-shots come through loud and punchy. But the rest of the volume is still kind of quiet. And then everything gets lowered when me or one of the players talk. Okay, I'm going to show you how to set that up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add filters to the Sirenscape source this time. So filters, you can see that there's no filters in here. We're basically going to add 3 different compressors. But one of them will just be a copy and paste. So we're going to add a compressor. This one's just going to be named compressor. Pretty easy. This one's going to be honestly fairly aggressive because I don't necessarily want the sound effects to be too loud. We made it to make... we are actually very close to being what I would consider set up. We're just going to do the video after I get sounds. And then if we do need to do a part 2, if anyone has any more technical questions, we will. Okay. Attack low, 3-ish, and release high. Remember, attack low, release high. There we go. about that. And this one, you can leave the ratio about 10. Yes, I will add it into the YouTube description for all of the links to everything that I mentioned. I will make sure to do that. They probably won't be up there until tomorrow. The links probably won't be in there until tomorrow, but I will get it links in there as soon as I can. Okay, but the reason why we did that is now the Sirenscape won't get too loud. You don't necessarily need to do this step, but this is the important one. So we're going to add another compressor. We're going to call this one sidechain and then space microphone. So a sidechain is a very, very cool bit of audio processing technology. What this does is what this will do basically is that it will take my microphone source, it will listen to that. When it hears audio coming from my microphone source, it will turn down the Sirenscape source. So we're going to go down here to sidechain / ducking source. Sometimes they could just call it ducking. We're going to select microphone. Then we're going to make the ratio fairly low, like we'll do 2.5 to 1. And then the threshold will also be fairly low, around there. Attack low, and then the release on this one, make the release very high. There we go. And now you can see over here on the audio monitor when I start talking, see how it gets quiet? And then it gets back loud. And it slowly, the reason why the release is so long is that it slowly builds back up. So it's not obvious. If we make it like really, really low like this, it will just shoot right back up. And it makes it really obvious. If you make it slow, it will the volume will come back slow enough that viewers won't even notice. They will just notice that they can hear you very, very clearly. And they won't necessarily notice that the audio of Sirenscape is being turned down. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take sidechain mic. We're going to duplicate that. And we're going to call this one sidechain voice chat. I abbreviate voice chat as VC. We're going to name it sidechain voice chat. We're going to change the source from microphone to Discord. That way, it works there. And yeah, so yeah, sidechaining is like my biggest secret to the audio processing of Fabled Dice. That way, players are always audible over the background sound, but then the background sound can still be kind of loud if we're not talking. Oh, yes. So stuck in, yes. So we use Sirenscape Online. This is a separate player. It does require the subscription. You can't just buy the sound sets like the fantasy player. But the benefit of it is that you get a link that you can share with people. And when you send them that link, they will connect. They will download this. They will download the online player. They will all connect, and then they will all hear it, and they will all, yeah. And Drake Takes is right. Only the DM for that has to subscribe. And I probably like, did we announce this already? Well, we've got some fun stuff coming with this. All I'll say. So it's a good time right now to get in on the Sirenscape subscription. Doug did sort of announce it. Cool. Well, then I will sort of announce it too. There is official support coming soon to Fantasy Grounds that will make setting that up a little bit easier. But yeah, we're all big fans of Sirenscape, as I feel like most people who play TTRPGs are. They're great. Okay, and the last thing you need on, I'm not going to say the words, but yes. Okay, and then the only other thing you need on the Sirenscape source is an audio monitor, like I mentioned, so that you can hear it. Any sound that you want to be able to hear needs an audio monitor. It needs to be down at the very bottom. We're going to turn that off, though, so that we don't get any kind of weird double audio. Because it's also being sent to the other computer. All right, and that's audio. It's not nearly as complex as a lot of people think. A lot of the stuff that you adjust is pretty much the same across the board. Like I said, once you have it set up, it's set. You can just leave it. Just set it and forget it. So, this means it's finally time to talk video, and it's finally to talk why we created these sources down here. So we're going to come down to Cameras Combat. The reason for that is we're going to open this, and we're going to add two things. We're going to add two things here. First off, we're going to add the overlay. We will be hiding this later. But we're adding the overlay. This is to get everything set up right. And then we're going to add a window capture. We're going to name this Discord. Discord video. I forgot that I already had audio. Cool. We're going to move that under this. And then we will add... I'll actually just duplicate this. Copy. Paste. Actually, you don't need to... I lied. You don't need to duplicate it like that. You can actually paste it as a reference. That should save you a little bit of CPU because all we're going to do is crop. Okay. And then, you can add your webcam source here as well. This computer does not have a webcam attached to it. So you could add a webcam and put that up there in the Game Master section. So I'm going to turn off the first one. We're going to grab the first player. We'll do Paulette first. I hit the wrong button. And lock. Remember, lock your stuff that you're not using. Lock anything that you aren't actively moving. Otherwise, it gets weird. Oh, perfect. Wow, I made these webcams just the perfect size for what I had. Cool. So, to crop an image in OBS, if you hold down Alt and then move, you'll get that little green bar, and that's how you can crop something. I crop just barely outside of where the little green highlight is. So we're going to crop that down. We're going to move Paulette down under player one. Here's a tip if you're having trouble seeing what's going on. If you right-click and go to Preview Scale, you can scale the canvas. This makes the image much bigger. You can hold spacebar and scroll around and zoom in. This way you can get in really, really close and make sure that all of those edges are lined up perfectly. Wave to everyone, Paulette. They can see you. And we will also, now that I'm thinking about it, let's turn that battle music off. There we go. All right, I think we'll actually just turn music off in general, and we'll just have background sounds. All right, so Paulette and Beth, you can now talk. They should be able to hear you just fine.
Okay.
Turn my mic back on. My neighbor was mowing, and I didn't think you all wanted to listen to it.
We don't. You mean we don't want to hear? We don't want to hear the distinctive sound of vroom. All right.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna adjust the next window. Again, lock sources you're not moving because Nothing is worse than I'm going to come over here and move this source, and I move it right there, and then I go like this, and then, oh no, I accidentally grabbed Paulette's window, and now I'm dragging it, and now I got to reset that one up. I'm really, really glad that OBS now has Control Z. I cannot believe that it took them years to add that. All right, and then we're going to crop Beth down, move into player 2. Once again, remember I mentioned you can zoom in if you are in, if you change your preview scale from scale to window. You gotta go right click, preview scale, canvas, makes it nice and big, and then you can hold spacebar and scale, because another really, really important thing to getting a really, really high quality looking stream is making sure that all of your sources fit perfectly inside of your webcam frames, making sure that there's nothing hanging out of them. Perfect. And then you're going to do that for all of your players and the GM. And then the way that you would add the GM is you'll add a video capture device and name it webcam. I guess it doesn't have to be the GM if the GM isn't the one streaming it. I am doing this from the perspective of the GM is streaming it. But whoever is the one actually streaming it, you're gonna want to. Actually, you probably don't want to do it that way. I just realized I have a weird setup. That probably is not the way you want to do it. You probably would want to duplicate Discord again. So the reason I'm saying this is Microsoft is weird, and if it's a USB device, it can only, if it's a USB webcam, it can only be used by one program at a time. So you will probably, to set that up, you'll probably actually want to capture your Discord. My setup for my camera is a little bit different than most people. I use an actual a Sony A7S DSLR camera. It's actually not a DSLR, it's a mirrorless camera. Any camera nerds would get mad at me for calling it a DSLR, but so I'm going to add my audio or my video source directly from Discord. I think that's going to be the easiest for most people's setup. Like that. Obviously, they can't, or you can't see me on it because there's no webcam on this computer. I could have went and got one, but I don't have one. Yes, XSplit will use that. OBS has, there is a plugin for OBS that I use on this computer to make it work called, what is it called? It's called OBS Camera. It lets you send a single source as a webcam into Discord. But that is a more complicated and I would say advanced setup. So I figured this is probably the easiest way to show it. This is probably the easiest way to set it up if you're using Discord. OBS Virtual Cam is very, very handy, especially if you get that plugin I mentioned, OBS Camera. Because Start Virtual Cam will send the whole scene as a webcam source to Discord. OBS Camera, it's a filter that you add onto an individual video. And the next thing we're going to do is this overlay on this screen. We're going to turn it off. So it should just be black background with the webcams everywhere. And then when we come back over to gameplay, we're going to add an image, or we're going to add a source. We're going to add a scene source. It will, so don't let them get disconnected. There is a solution to that, and that, oh, we're going to crash again. And that solution is using OBS, obs.ninja, which lets you import each individual webcam as its own source. It's not something that, I know that Drake Takes really likes using it and uses it for his stream. I don't like it because some of my players can't connect to it properly. We get this weird like static and like flashing on just one person's camera every time. Yep, it crashed. All right. My computer really doesn't like having this computer. The reason why I'm on a 2 PC setup now is it doesn't like having OBS, Discord, Photoshop, and Fantasy Grounds all running at the same time. So I'm not really surprised.
I'm gonna blame Photoshop.
It probably is. Actually, I'm going to blame Discord, to be honest.
Also true.
All right. We got to reload that. Load that again. Dark Lord Pengu, thank you for the follow. But when you do load that, we can hide that. Oh, it did go back in time a little bit. Okay. So let's just reset up the GM source. All right. Do I have a sense of which? For this computer, no. All of it should be fine. It's probably the CPU, if I had to guess, because this computer that you're seeing right now has a 3070, 32 gigabytes of RAM, but it does have a slightly older i7, and I think that's probably the issue. Meowsician, thank you for the follow as well. Okay, when we have this set up, we can go back to this scene, and we can actually add a scene. And the scene we're going to add is you're going to find that camera's combat scene. And when you add that in, it will just populate with all of the stuff set up right where they go. Anyone tried Lightstream? I've heard good things, but the main reason I haven't is there's not really a good way to use it with OBS. It is its own streaming software. So I would have to rebuild all of my scenes in Lightstream instead of OBS. Yeah, and Drake takes, I might try OBS Ninja again in the future. In fact, I might try it for whatever the next actual play stream that I start running, but I don't want to switch part of the way through and have issues pop up in the middle of a stream. Cool. And the only other thing that we need to do now on this scene is fairly obvious. We want another window capture, or I believe a game capture would work, but we're going to use window capture, and we're going to call this Fantasy Grounds. And we're going to capture. It's not showing up. Oh, that's right. All right, troubleshooting time. I don't know why Fantasy Grounds is not showing up as... There we go. That's not right.
Did it freak out when it crashed, when the other program crashed earlier?
Nope, Fantasy Grounds is still open, but the source it's loading that says is fantasygrounds.exe, it's loading OBS to capture OBS.
That's not right.
Yeah, I know that's not right. Okay. All right. I think I know what's happening. I don't think it likes that Fantasy Grounds is minimized, and I can't not minimize it because this computer only has one monitor. Because my other monitors are all taken up by the streaming PC. But you'll add a window capture. You'll add in OBS. You know what I'll do? We'll cheat. Control. We'll cheat. I'm going to take a screenshot of OBS, and we'll load that and just We'll just pretend. So you'll do a window capture. You'll add that as Fantasy Grounds. We're going to cheat and do an image. Actually, I need to save that image somewhere. Oh, that's right. They did change it to Video Ninja. I forgot because OBS got a little annoyed that people kept using their name when they weren't affiliated. I would too. All right. Live streaming, Fantasy Grounds, tutorial. I'll just call this FGU. Okay, so we're all just going to pretend that this image that I'm loading is me opening Fantasy Grounds. Right? Can we all agree on that?
Sure.
Because it doesn't like to open while it's minimized. Okay, so this can go down at the bottom underneath your source. So we're going to need 2 of these. Once again, if you were doing this for real, you'd add a window capture or a game capture. Actually, we'll check if game capture will let me, but I don't think it will. Oh, it does. It, you know, for a little bit, game capture stopped letting me capture Fantasy Grounds. So I'm glad to see that it does. All right. So we can actually do this correctly. So you'll add a game capture. You'll add a game capture. You'll go to specific window. Then you'll find Fantasy Grounds. Then it will load it up. So this first one, we're going to line up the chat window with the chat window that we set up. So you get the chat window lined up in there. I like to actually cut it off a little bit. Cut off a little bit of the bottom so you can't see the typing point. You just see all of the chat window itself. Hold Alt to crop. And then crop that to fit. If it, looks like that and doesn't quite match up, what you can do is unlock position, move this up a little bit until it takes up the full top, and then bring this right back down. And then lock it. There we go. Now we've got the chat window in I should need that at the bottom too. Now we have the chat window inside of this. We can now take this, copy, paste a reference. This one will be for the actual game scene. So once again, this one is also going to be a personal preference. I crop mine right before the sidebar, and then I just try to get it as much screen as I possibly can fit in there like that. And then you have Fantasy Grounds opened. You can see what's important. Scroll that up, get it all set up in there. And then if we say we open up a map, say we're in combat, and that's not a great map for that. Can we get there we go. So open up a map and we full screen it. When we come back over here into OBS, the map will be, as you can see, it's a little bit cut off. So like I said, that's why you've got to do a little bit of trial and error yourself. Just get it right to, I basically try to get mine right to where a full screen map would be. That's just how I like to set it up. You can set it up how you want. But there you go. And then there's a scene setup. I can also see that the chat window is coming out a little bit. So it just takes a little bit of trial and error to get everything centered inside of their boxes and looking good. And now you can see what I deem in an actual play show, what viewers really care about as the important bits. You can see a map or any images you share, and you can see the chat window. And yes, I am also showing Drake Takes. This is from the DM side. I do, but that's part of the reason why I only let them see the map. Is then not too much information can be seen. So what I do, and I'll just give you a couple of just quick tips on how I run content. So say we'll open this up. If I've got like a story window open, I will actually bring this right up here into this corner. You'll see me doing this if you watch Fabled Dice on Saturdays. If I open something and I forgot to move it, usually I pre-move all my stuff so it only opens in this corner, but I'll grab it and move it up there. And the reason for that is, if we come over here, that story window is completely invisible to anybody besides me. So I can keep this right here hidden. No one else can see it. And then you can open stuff and move it around. The other tip that I do, if I want to show off an image that is not necessarily a full map, like if I want to show, like if they meet a character and I want to show them what the character looks like, I will actually take these and I will go and drop it right in front of the chat window. So that over here on the stream, the image that the players are all seeing is opened for is open above the chat window. You can't see dice rolls while it's open, but it's a good little window, and then you don't have to cover up the map. I only do that on character portraits or like an item portrait or anything that's in like a kind of a portrait shape. If I'm doing a landscape photo, I will often let that take up the whole map. Yeah, I do wish, I know it's a technical nightmare, which is why you can't, but I do wish that you could drag windows outside of OBS, or not OBS, outside of Fantasy Grounds for like multi-monitor support. But I do also understand that is a technical nightmare. And basically, that's kind of the basics of setup. That's basically how you set this up. If you want to go through doing a non-combat scene, you basically you would basically do the exact same thing I did for this scene, except for without the gameplay windows, and you'll set it up in a different order. The order that I prefer, but obviously this is personal preference. Non-combat overlay. We'll just come and grab the Fabled Dice one because it's pretty handy.
Fabled Dice at 9 p.m. Saturdays Eastern Daylight Time.
Thank you. Thanks for the plug. Good
announcer voice.
Thanks for the plug.
I used to do radio.
I set mine up like this. So Game Master in the middle, players on the side, and then players below that. If you have 5, you could do another one right below the GM screen. Drake, I do have 3 monitors. The issue is that I have 3 monitors split between 2 computers. Totally thought that was a pre-recorded promo. But setting up the non-combat screen is basically exactly the same steps as setting this one up. I don't understand why I put them in my own. It's really, really simple. It keeps this. It keeps the combat, or it keeps your main scenes clean, first off. Right? If I need to change anything, I can do this. The next thing that you can do, if you do frequently have a player that drops and you're using Discord, what I will do is I will take this one and I will duplicate this. And then I'll make a slightly different version of this scene without that player who frequently drops out. And then you can add that in as its own scene. Put that right there. And then if they do drop or they can't make it to a stream, you can very easily just swap from one scene to the other, and then you don't have to do any camera adjusting in this scene, and you can keep it all clean. That's why I split it up that way. It's to keep stuff kind of clean, and there's some other stuff you can do, some more advanced OBS stuff you can do. Yeah, so that's why we have it. That's why I have it set up like this. Again, you don't have to, but that is, quick changing is the main reason, and but there's some other stuff you can do if you get more advanced into OBS features by doing stuff that way. Anyway. This is the main setup, and I believe you absolutely could do that. Yeah. So I think this will be the end of the stream. We've already gone well over the normal time, but I think that's all right for a stream like this because it's important to get the information out to you. So this will be up on our YouTube page forever. You'll be able to see it there whenever you want. I will make sure that tomorrow I will get all of the links that I mentioned into the description. I might even do it like late tonight. Remember that if you are a Fantasy Grounds streamer, join the Fantasy Grounds affiliate program. Isn't that right, Paulette?
Yes, and I've already put the link.
Perfect. And we've also got, remember to come back tomorrow for our other shows. We've got at 3 p.m. Eastern Time is Joshua's map and image creation stream. Learn how to make fun RPG maps and just watch and relax. He's got such a relaxing voice to just sit and listen to. It's very nice. And come back at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Fabled Dice. That is my actual play where you can kind of get an idea of what running a game and running a stream looks like.
Be there.
And it's also just a fun show, isn't that right, Beth? Beth's part of it.
Yeah, I think it's fun. You'll see all our fun shenanigans, layout stuff, and make him fluster a little bit as he tries to dungeon master.
It happens, especially when I'm like, all right, this is definitely where you're all going. And then you're like, yeah, but what if we went over there instead?
Yep.
That's the rule.
It is the rule. I know it's the rule.
Real quick, if you are streaming and you're using Fantasy Grounds, and I have not reached out to you yet, please reach out to me. You can drop me a message here on Twitch or in the Fantasy Grounds Discord because I want to know who all is streaming. Mm-hmm. I like to pop into the shows. Bryce does too. So let us know you're out there.
Yeah, we both frequently pop into people's streams, and we can only do that if we know that you're streaming with Fantasy Grounds. So let us know. Is there anything else? We got anything else to say before we say goodbye?
Have a great weekend.
Oh, I know what.
Have a good weekend.
We should go raid someone.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, we should do that.
Is there anyone using Fantasy Grounds right now?
GM Jenkin might be.
I don't. Oh, yes. Actually, I was gonna say I don't see him live. Here's another one that I hadn't heard of before. Because that looks like Fantasy Grounds.
What's the name?
Skeksis the Chamberlain.
He's German.
Ah.
Bungo 21 is, I can't remember what country. He's also Fantasy Grounds, but a different language. That's why I was looking.
Jim, and I don't know how to pronounce that one.
Yeah, I sit here and, believe it or not, watch a lot of ones that are in German.
Have you learned German?
I grew up hearing it, so I understand it. I don't speak it.
No, I was just wondering if watching the streams helped you learn.
It does
because that would be
help.
really impressive. Oh, and there's all right. And that one advertises in English. They're doing Out of the Abyss. But I guess we'll go over to GM Jenkin. All right, so stay with us for the raid. We're gonna go over to GM Jenkin doing some Dungeons and Dragons with Fantasy Grounds, and yeah, we'll see you at the at whenever we see you again. Oh, and last thing I do want to mention before I start the raid this time is next week, next Fantasy Grounds Fridays, we're doing a special where we will be talking to some of the Fantasy Grounds streamers. So we'll be talking to Drake Takes, Previous Rejects, Dead Aussie Gamer, and I'm drawing a blank on the other one.
Effie?
Yes.
DMFE? DMFE.
Yeah. What's their show though?
The Vactair.
Okay.
Not sure.
Yeah. But we'll be talking to
We're actually on a few shows.
Yeah. So, and yes, I do run 2 computers. One of them is dedicated to streaming, and then the other one is dedicated to running Fantasy Grounds and Sirenscape, nothing else. And the only reason that the Fantasy Grounds one is running Sirenscape is because normally my lights are set up through Razer Synapse to be reactive to sound, and I have it set, the volume set just right so that they only go off when there's a loud one-shot sound. So like when someone casts a spell, everything goes crazy. Anyway, let's go raid. Let's go raid. Thank you for coming. And let's go raid GM Jenkin. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Bye.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
I finally get to meet you.
Yeah, I know. Bryce
See you on
always
the
tells me.
streams.
I know, Bryce always tells me about y'all's meetings. I'm just here like, oh, maybe one day.
Oh boy, can I adopt another kid?
Oh god, no. I am an only child, so.
Oh. I have a biological set of twins that are probably about your age.
What? Okay. Sorry, my mic got loose there.